What's up everyone, my name's PlatinumHowler, coach of your Delta Gliders. Today we're going to be recapping my time in Season 7 of the IBL, looking back on the season that was. This is sort of a thing now that I kind of want to get used to doing at the end of my Wi-Fi leagues. We can just look back on the season and highlight some of the more memorable moments. We did one of these for APA Academy, so now we're going to try doing it for IBL as well. We were in the championship game. If you haven't seen the championship video that went up last Sunday, then you definitely want to go check that out before diving into the contents of this video. So I'll give you some time to go do that. I'll also take time at the beginning now to plug some upcoming stuff that I got coming. So next Wednesday, this is going up on Thursday the 23rd. Yep. I think that, yeah, the 23rd. So next Wednesday the 29th is going to be the debut of our NCL Showdown series. First video will be the draft analysis, and then you'll get the beginning of battles on every Wednesday after that. So one video a week for NCL. We also recently hit 100 subscribers on the channel, which is super awesome. It took us a year and a half to get there. But hopefully it won't take us as long to continue climbing up and growing our channel and our community. So I'm thinking, you know, typically something that people do when they hit that subscriber milestone is they make a Q&A video. So if you have any questions that you might have for me, you can leave that down below. I might throw something up on Twitter as well. For people to leave questions, and who knows, maybe next Thursday I will drop a special Q&A video for hitting the 100 subscriber mark. But anyways, we'll now dive into the recap portion. Spoiler window is now over. We are the two-time defending IBL champions now. That is crazy for me to say and for me to think about, because 1 year ago at this time I would never have thought myself to be able to say that out loud, that I've actually won not just a league, but the same league 2 seasons in a row. That's just mind-blowing to me. A year ago, the leagues that I was doing on YouTube, I was pulling very middling results. Like IBL D-League, I was 500. PCL D-League, I was not that much better than 500. So like the fact that now in Generation 8, I'm at like almost an 85% win rate is kind of nuts. I think it definitely really speaks to how much confidence I've gained as a player in general over the last year. So I'm really thankful for that, and I hope that I only continue to grow and there are just more opportunities present themselves along the way. I do also want to say, in the finals video, I would have preferred to definitely have been sounded more excited and more hyped that I had just won the championship. But there are a couple things I have to say about that. I think the main thing is that I just didn't. It wasn't sitting well with me that I turned out to win the finals game by a score of 5-0. Like, don't get me wrong, 5-0 wins are great, but in a championship game that you want to go down as one of the more memorable games of your battling career, you don't want it to be such a lopsided match. Like, 5-0s are still great, but they're better when you're like in a week 2 scenario where you're like just fighting to get as much differential as you can. But you know, 5-0s don't really matter when it comes to playoffs, because all you're chasing is the W. You're not chasing any differential. You know, you want it to be a more exciting game, a more exciting video, but it just didn't turn out that way. Like, I got a 5-0 win week 2 against Big Time Brownie, and that was really good for me because I was coming off a week 1 loss, so I could have used as much differential as I could get at that point. So, you know, getting a 5-0 win there was really big. But you know, that just didn't turn out to be the memorable game that I wanted it to be, so that's why I was kind of disappointed in the moment. I'm sorry about that. I wish I could have been, I probably could have been in a slightly better mood in that moment, but hopefully I can make up for the lack of positivity in that moment in this video. I was hoping it would be as good a game as the semi-final game against Ruppy was, but you know, maybe we'll just have to remember our season by that game instead of by the championship game. So now with that out of the way, it's time to look back on how individual members of our team performed for us this season. We'll start with Taraki, which was our #1 pick, even though we technically had 2 #1 picks because we were on the back wheel, and that's just kind of how it goes. It doesn't really matter which is a round 1 or a round 2 pick, but Taraki, 11 games played this season, the second most games played on our team, and that definitely had a lot to do with the fact that it was the fastest mon that we had on our team. So it was pretty easy to make a case to bring it a lot of weeks because we needed offensive mons that could outspeed the other mons and hit them for a lot of damage. Although surprisingly enough, it only got 7 kills on the season, which isn't a bad number, but certainly you would expect it to be a higher number for a mon that came to so many games and one that was of such a high tier. It only had 2 games this season where it picked up multiple kills, though that being week 1, which was actually the game that we lost, and then week 4 it thankfully came in and was, and we needed all of that power, all of that adamant life orb power for it to clean up that game. I think an interesting stat to look at here is the fact that I never managed to switch Taraki into a dark type move and get a justified boost all season long, not making use of its ability at all. Not that that's a bad thing, I think it's just an interesting observation to make. You know, when you draft the Pokemon at the beginning of the season and you have like a dark weakness, and oh, I've got a Taraki with Justified that I can switch into dark hits and make up for that weakness, but well, how often is that really going to happen? Well, you see that over the course of 14 games in this season, 11 of which Taraki came to you, not once did the situation ever come up where, you know, you can make that ability work. 2 sets that I really enjoyed using, the eject button set week 6 against Owen. Unfortunately, it didn't work completely as planned because he didn't bring his Gothitelle. That was the main reason that I brought it, so that I could click close combat and then avoid being trapped immediately afterwards. But I thought that was a really cool idea just because you don't see eject pack. Did I say eject button? I don't know. It was eject pack, but you don't see that item run every day, so it was really cool that I got the opportunity to bring that. And then, of course, the lead rocker set in the semi-final game that turned out to survive for the entirety of the battle. And I had it in my back pocket just to outspeed and hit his mons really hard. That set worked out so much better than I anticipated. And yeah, those were the 2 most memorable Taraki performances for me this season. Next mon is our Grimmsnarl. At 9 games played, it's tied for the 3rd most games played on our roster. Actually picked up more kills than Taraki this season, which is surprising from a mon that most people would consider to be more of a support mon, but I definitely was bringing it more offensive a lot of the time. In fact, I never set either Reflect or Light Screen with this mon over the course of the season. I know for a fact I used Light Screen on Rotom-Mow and Light Screen on Unitless, but I didn't use any screens on the Prankster Screen mon whatsoever. I know I brought Reflect once on the Grimmsnarl, but I never actually used it in that battle. I believe that was week 4, which was the battle where Grimmsnarl arguably put in the most work. It put the team on its back against D-Ray, setting up those bulk ups and knocking things out with Sucker Punch. And Grimmsnarl was another thing that did exceptionally well for me in the semi-final game against Ruppy, coming in and putting in the work with that Choice Scarf, the surprise base 60 speed Choice Scarf Mon. Don't see that every day, but I had a very clear image of how that was going to go. I was looking for a last Mon on my team to throw on there and say, okay, I need something to clean up late in the game. What's the best Mon for that? And I thought I could try that Grimmsnarl, get away with it. It outsped what it needed to with the Scarf, and it Fairy type moves, just Fairy type moves in general were really good against the things that I needed to hit late in the game. So yeah, it worked out super well. I think Dark Fairy is a super cool and valuable typing to have on your roster. And at tier 3 value in this league, it was incredible to get the opportunity to use it at such a value, at such a budget price. I definitely think that this thing should be moved up to tier 2 for next season of the IBL. Heck, it's tier 2 in the NCL, my Showdown National Dex League. It was tier 2 last season, it's tier 2 again, and it was somehow placed in tier 3 for the IBL. I wonder if that was intentional to try to get the coaches to draft some of the newer Mons, just because it would be a more fun to see more new-ish Mons being used. But yeah, I definitely don't think that it belongs in tier 3. Next Mon on our team, our Arcanine, was definitely the most surprising pick for me this season. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. 9 games played, the same amount as Grimmsnarl, but picked up 11 kills, only dying 4 times as well. So Arcanine actually, it actually had the best deaths per game ratio among our team members, at least of Mons that came to more than half of our games. The Piloswine only had 2 deaths in the 5 games that it came to, but that's not more than half of our games, so it's kind of hard to count that. But I feel like when people go to draft this thing nowadays, they really fixate on the fact that it has teleport. It's a weird move for it to have access to, but for some reason people are like really key in on that one move in particular. And like, I'm not out here just drafting Arcanine for teleport support. Like, Arcanine picking up 11 kills for me this season with its awesome coverage and its priority option in extreme speed. Like, it got multiple kills in multiple games this season for me. I love how well-rounded its stat distribution is. It makes it so that you can use it in so many different ways. I did bring it offensive a lot, but I also did bring it in more of a defensive role sometimes, you know, to take on the likes of G-Max Corviknight and a G-Max Centiskorch. That was a more defensive spread that I brought, even though that Centiskorch never ended up coming to the game. The main thing I'd say is it partnered so well with our G-Max Doraladin. It was 3rd on our team in kills, and Doraladin was by far and away number 1 on our team in kills. So those 2 Mons worked so well together. You know, I think Doraladin would be a hell of a lot better if it got access to fire moves. But you know, you make up for that in supporting it with a strong fire type Pokemon that, you know, obviously has very strong fire type moves. So yeah, Arcanine, a blast to use alongside Doraladin this season. Standout performance definitely has to be week 9, where it picked up 3 kills in that game. The Psychic Fangs tech would have worked if Nebris actually brought the hail on his Alola Ninetales, but it still came in clutch because we were able to catch a Keldeo switching in and then pick it off with extreme speed on the next turn. So that was definitely my favorite set for Arcanine that I had used over the course of the season. And next we're going to talk about Rotom-Mow, which somehow finished in the top 10. I want to say it was one of the top 10 kill leaders this season in the league with 12 kills. It just beat Arcanine by 1 kill when all said and done. I honestly don't really know how this happened. I can't really explain this stat line for Rotom-Mow, because like I wasn't bringing it with the intention of trying to get so many kills with it in the games that I brought. I felt like, looking back on the season, that Rotom-Mow was one of the mons that I used as defensively more often than not. There were some weeks where I brought it more offensively, like week 7 I brought it as a Scarfer. That was probably the most offensive spread that I brought, and I do think it picked up 2 kills in that game. But and then week 8 it just had a ridiculous matchup against Sock's team, and completely went in that matchup, got 4 kills total. Honestly though, I will remember Rotom-Mow best for it surviving with 1 HP in that week 5 win over Romar, so that it could take out that Excadrill that had set up a Swords Dance in front of me. That was really scary, and I totally was not expecting Rotom-Mow to tank that hit, even though I was max HP, max physical defense. But you know, it came through in the clutch and allowed us to steamroll through that game. Now on to our Arachnid, which we brought to 8 games this season. Picked up 4 kills, 4 deaths, you know, 500 performance. Not great, not terrible, but I do think it was a valuable member to the team this season. We actually didn't bring it for either the first 2 weeks of the season, but then we brought it to the next 6 in a row after that. It made 1 appearance in playoffs as well. I don't think it really had a standout performance this season. Like, I can't really pick out one game in particular where it put in more work than any other game. I guess the only thing you can say is that I actually set sticky webs with it in my week 3 game, and the sticky webs helped my Arcanine and Doraladin completely mow through Dorian's team in that game. So that's probably what its best performance would be, even though all it did was set up a hazard. And that was the only time all season that I actually used sticky web. Like I said, similar with Grimmsnarl, like I brought screens on it sometimes, but I didn't actually use it. I brought sticky webs on Arachnid in other games, but I never actually set it up. And it was actually funny to me how often in the week 6 and week 7 games, people tried to, my opponents tried to encore my Arachnid, expecting me to want to set up webs. But like, whenever I have the opportunity to like spam water type attacks against your team with an Arachnid, that's probably what I'm going to do, because it hits stupidly hard with its water bubble ability. I think Arachnid's great. It's also hella bulky on the special side, so if you need mons to take special hits, Arachnid is definitely a very solid choice. Next mon was Unitless. 9 games played, only 3 kills, 5 deaths. This is the first mon with a negative record. It's the only mon. I think it's the only mon that we brought to more than half of our games that finished with a negative record. I really wish I had more success with Unitless in particular. I was really excited when to finally get the opportunity to draft it, but I just didn't get the results that I wanted it to. I don't think that it's a bad Pokemon. I definitely would try to draft it again and hopefully do better with it on a different team. At the beginning of the season, I was bringing Unitless a lot. I brought it to my first 5 games in a row, and then after that it actually sat on the bench for 3 of the next 4, only making it 1 appearance in the playoffs. And a lot of the times when I didn't bring it, I was going up against really strong dark types like Crawdaunt and Gmax Grimmsnarl. Also Gmax Gengar is something that I don't think Unitless likes going up against a lot of the time. I don't know if I subconsciously came to the conclusion that Unitless wasn't performing well enough for me in the early weeks that I was bringing it, and then that's why I left it on the bench the weeks following that. because it was a mon that I really wanted to use well this season, but I don't know, it just didn't get the same results. Like other mons on the team just stole the show, I guess. The highlight though definitely has to be week 2 against Brownie, when I brought the Iron Defense Stored Power set and actually had Blunder Policy on it as well that I didn't get the opportunity to pop, but it would have been really funny if I did. That Unitless put on so much pressure in that game. You know, getting that Gastrodon, that was his response to make sure that I didn't get any boosts with my Unitless. You know, that wasn't a response anymore as soon as it was toxic, because I would always be 1v1ing it either way. Moving on to Piloswine, I honestly don't really have much to say about Piloswine. Like, it came to 5 games this season. Most of the times when it came, it was because I wanted a more dedicated rocker. My only 2 other rockers being Taraki and Doraladin, and those are both mons that when they're in, I want them to be doing as much damage as they possibly can. I do definitely think it was a solid tier 4 slash low tier pick for us, and it is on a lot of teams. I'm glad we were able to grab it. I'd say the highlight game for this season was actually probably the meme game against Ruppy, where I used the Curse, Rest, Sleep, Talk, Earthquake set, which was really good against, it's not really, it wasn't really much of a meme, to be honest, because, you know, in that type of matchup, it actually worked pretty well, in the sense that, well, you know, it's a meme game. Is he really gonna bring his Rotom-Mow to beat my Piloswine? If he did, I had a meme to get around that, and also like a Serena with Drop Kick maybe could have been really annoying, but you know, that's not memey at all. Why would he bring that? Yeah, that was fun to use. I probably could have done, that set in particular probably could have put in more work than it did, but that whole game was like more centered around Doraladin getting as many kills as possible, so I think I actually let it go down earlier than I could have. I think I could have kept it around longer, but I didn't want it to steal the show. Now on to Garbower. I think this is the only mon on my team that when I looked back at it, I think that I don't want to ever draft this Pokemon ever again. Just because I feel like the only value that it adds to a team is that it can set spikes and toxic spikes, and beyond that it's pretty useless. So I don't think that drafting a Pokemon just to be able to set hazards, I don't really think that fits my playstyle, so that's why I don't think Garbower is something I'll be using very much in the future. Only came to 3 games this season, died in all 3 of them, didn't pick up a kill. Actually, 2 of the games that it came to this season were both losses for me. And the other one that it came to was week 7, where it did get up toxic spikes, and those toxic spikes put in a lot of work for me. So Garbower definitely did well in that game, but that's about it. The other 2 games that it came to, I don't think well, the week 1 game, I don't know if I played it as well as I could have, and then the week 10 game was not a super serious game for me, but still I don't think it's something that I will want to be using again. Drifblim, on the other hand, wow, surprised me late in the season at least. I wasn't finding a reason to bring it early on in the season, like during the regular season, but as I guess maybe I got a little bit more comfortable with it and more confident in what it could do, it absolutely shined in the last 2 games of the playoffs in particular. Who knew that tier 4 Drifblim would come in so clutch for me in the last couple games of the season, in the playoff run on the way to our 2nd consecutive championship. Like, Drifblim of all things, you would never expect that to be such a clutch mon for us, but you know, that's kind of the characteristics of championship teams in draft leagues. Like, You need your low tier mons to be valuable to you. You need them to put in work. Like, you can draft some really powerful top tier mons, but at the end of the day, it's usually those unsung heroes like Drifblim that save the day. You do not want to sleep on Drifblim in prepping. It has the potential to be really, really annoying, especially if it gets its Unburden boost. I think Unburden is definitely the way to go over like an offensive flare boost set. Although I did like that I got the opportunity to actually bring that set to a couple games, even though well, it was the same matchup both times that I brought it. I wish that that set could have put in more work than it did, but yeah, the Unburden sets put in a ton of work, just getting that speed and then the ability to burn physical attackers, strength sap them, get health back, Shadow Ball being such a spammable move, and you know, also being a hazard removal option. Just such a cool Pokemon to use. Very, very glad that I decided to draft it this season. Then we have Noctowl, which only 2 games this season, both also losses alongside Garbower, a 100% loss rate in this case. Didn't get a kill for us. Although, unlike Garbower, which I don't think I'm going to be wanting to use Garbower again, I do think that I might be able to give Noctowl another chance. I don't think that I use Noctowl to the best of its ability this season. Like, I know I've seen other people use it well. Like, I know Goldoa loves it, and I've already seen Mid claim 2 kills with it in the BBR, so it definitely has some potential. I just don't think that I used it super well in particular, and I do think that Drifblim and Noctowl as low tier flying types actually complement each other very well. You know, Drifblim takes on a lot of the physical attackers, and Noctowl is very good against a lot of the special attackers, so you know, those 2 doubling up on typings doesn't really make that much of a difference, because you know, them both being low tier flying types, you're probably not going to bring them both to the same game. So I think that's a cool little dynamic to have on your on the lower end of your draft roster. Last but certainly not least, we have our Gigantamax Doraladin coming to every single game this season. 14 games, regular season and playoffs put together, and picking up a grand total of 24 kills. I was really sad when this didn't finish the regular season atop the kill leaderboard. It actually finished 3rd behind Gmax Charizard, which had, I believe, 20 direct kills plus a passive kill for a total of 21. And then Komao also finished with 20 kills, but it was higher than Doraladin because it had 1 fewer death. But if you include playoffs, then Doraladin finishes atop the kill leaderboard with 24 kills. I believe the Komao finished with 22, and I actually don't think the Charizard got any kills in the playoffs. So Doraladin, clearly number 1, clearly the best Gmax. I loved using it this season. May I remind you that I didn't even initially draft Gmax Doraladin. I had Gmax Alcremie until the draft was over, because I forgot that Grimmsnarl was also part Fairy type, and I was like after I drafted the Alcremie, I was like, what am I doing? I have 2 Fairy types now. This was not smart, but thankfully nobody drafted Doraladin, and they left it for me to pick up post-draft, and it ended up being arguably the league MVP. It was the MVP for the championship winning team, so yeah, I would call it the league MVP. As a Gmax Pokemon, it's just so threatening offensively with its dual stabs. Unless you have a super bulky steel type or mons that are faster than it, that can hit it on the special side, then it's a really hard Pokemon to deal with. And I definitely think Duraludon is one of the Pokemon that benefit the most from being able to Dynamax / Gigantamax. Like, you know, Gengar, for example, is still a really good Pokemon even if it's not Dynamax or Gigantamax. Duraludon is significantly worse if it's not able to Dynamax or Gigantamax. So, yeah, I loved having Duraludon on my team this season, and I wouldn't say I would draft it again because there are so many Gmaxes that I should be giving a shot. But like, I have a hard time seeing me enjoying another Gmax mon more than I enjoy Gmax Duraludon. So there you have it. That is our championship roster for Season 7 of the IBL. And it won't be much longer until we start drafting our Season 8 roster on our quest for a third consecutive championship. That would be unheard of as far as I know. I know that there have been some people I'm actually not the first person to win back-to-back titles in the IBL, let alone in any draft league, but Darude, I believe, won seasons 3 and 4 back-to-back, so now I've won seasons 6 and 7 back-to-back. So I haven't made history yet, but if I want to make history, then I'm gonna have to give season 8 my all, draft another powerful squad that I can show off for you guys. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the start of the next season. If you enjoyed this recap video, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the channel so that you keep up with all of our upcoming Draft League content, the upcoming IBL season. We got NCL Showdown videos starting next Wednesday, and we got BBR videos. Friday is the team builder, so you'll see the team builder for our week 2 game tomorrow, and then the week 2 battle following that on Saturday. So yeah, please subscribe and leave questions down below for the 100 subscriber Q&A thing if you want. Like, ask me personal questions. Like, I'm cool answering personal questions. You want to know more about me, then, you know, ask me questions about sports and stuff. And it doesn't always have to be all Pokemon all the time, you know, but like, I'll answer whatever kind of questions you guys want to ask me. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.